Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're diving into E.M. Forster's A Passage to India. Imagine India in the 1920s, ruled by the British. Our story takes place in Chandrapore, a made-up city that shows us what life was like in colonial India. Back then, there was a lot of tension between the British rulers and the Indian people. Forster really helps us see this social divide. British officials and their families lived in separate clubs and houses far removed from the bustling Indian community. The story begins when two English women, Mrs. Moore and Adela Quested, arrive in India. They want to see the India, and this desire sets the stage for a story about cultural misunderstandings and the search for meaning. The book is split into three parts: mosque, caves and temple, each named after an important place. In Mosque, we see attempts to bridge the gap between the British and Indians. Mrs. Moore and Adela become friends with Dr. Aziz, an Indian Muslim doctor. We see the challenges and prejudices both sides face. Caves is where things take a dramatic turn. During a trip to the Malabar Caves, something bad happens between Adela and Dr. Aziz. This event turns their lives upside down and reveals the deep mistrust between the British and Indians. The last part, Temple, takes place a year later. It shows us what happened after the incident and the search for justice. Dr. Aziz's trial becomes a big deal, showing the deep wounds caused by colonialism. Let's meet our main characters: Dr. Aziz, Mrs. Moore, Adela Quested and Cyril Fielding. Dr. Aziz is a smart and kind Indian man who deals with the unfairness of British rule while trying to be friends with the British. Mrs. Moore is an older British lady with an open mind. Her time in India makes her question what she thought she knew, and even if British rule is right. Adela is a young English woman who wants to experience the India, but she doesn't understand the culture very well, and this leads to problems. Cyril Fielding is a British teacher who tries to help the British and Indians get along. He supports Dr. Aziz, but even he has his own biases. Let's talk about the big ideas in the book. A Passage to India is about colonialism and racism during the British Empire. Forster shows us how unfair and arrogant the British rulers were, but also how strong and dignified the Indian people were. The book also explores friendship and how hard it can be to connect with people from different cultures. It shows us that understanding each other takes empathy, talking openly, and challenging our own biases. Misunderstandings and isolation are also big themes. Language barriers, cultural differences and prejudices make it hard to connect with others. Finally, the trial of Dr. Aziz shows us how hard it was to get justice and be recognized in a society divided by colonialism. A Passage to India is still important today because it shows us what British colonialism in India was really like. It explores cultural conflicts, prejudice, and how hard it is to connect with people in a divided world. The book's themes of racism, justice, and the difficulties of understanding different cultures are still relevant today. They make us think about the impact of colonialism and how important empathy is in our world. Forster's insights into human nature and the challenges of bridging cultures make A Passage to India a classic, encouraging us to confront difficult truths about power, prejudice, and the search for understanding.